Hi everyone. So today we are going to study about the topic power sharing, which is chapter 1 of politics. Okay? So let's start. So in this chapter we are going to study about the two case studies in Belgium and in Sri Lanka. We are going to understand the differences between the two countries and how the linguistic differences uh, have led to the certain consequences. So let's start. So first of all, we are going to discuss about Belgium and we are going to see how there are linguistic differences in the country. Okay, we are going to understand um, the composition of the people who are speaking different languages in Belgium. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, we are going to study about Belgium. Belgium is a small country in Europe, and it is comparatively smaller in area than the state of Haryana. Okay, so it shares borders with France, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. Belgium has a population of over 1 crore and approximately about half the population of Haryana. The ethnic population of Belgium is very complex. Okay? So we saw that Belgium is a small country in Europe and it shares its borders with France, Netherlands, Germany, and Luxembourg. Its population is about half the population of Haryana. In Belgium, the ethnic composition is very complex. So let's see how it is complex. Of the country's total population, 59% lives in Flemish region and they speak Dutch language. Okay, so Belgium may 59% people of the 59% of the population of Belgium, they live in Flemish region and they speak which kind of language? Dutch language. And then another 40% live in Wallonia region and they speak French language. Okay, got it. 59% speak Dutch language and they are resided in Flemish region. 40% speak French language and they are resided in Wallonia region. Okay, and remaining 1% speak German. So we have seen that there are three type of section in the population of Belgium which speak different languages, three languages majorly. 59% Dutch, 49% French, and 49% French, and 1% speak German. Okay. Now let's talk about in the capital city Brussels. Brussels, um, 80% speak French and 20% are Dutch speaking. So Brussels is the capital of Belgium. Okay, Brussels is the capital of Belgium. In Brussels, 80% of the people speak French and 20% speak Dutch. So it is a contrasting situation. If we see in the whole country, Dutch speak majority of language, the majority of people speak Dutch language. Just give me 1 second. I don't know why it is not showing me erase the mouse. Okay, so yeah. So if we see in the whole country, we see that the majority are the people who speak Dutch language. But in the capital city Brussels, the majority are the people who speak French language. Okay, so this is the contrasting and some sort of complex situation. Okay, I don't know why this mouse is okay. I'm not able to detect the mouse and it is blinking, so no worries. Okay, let's move to another stage. Yeah. Now we are going to study between the we are going to study the differences between two linguistic communities in Brussels. We have seen there are two linguistic community, French and Dutch. Okay, there are French and there are Dutch people, French speaking people and Dutch speaking people. Got it? The French speaking people are 80% and Dutch speaking people are 20%. In Brussels, I am talking about, not in Belgium. Brussels is the capital of Belgium. The minority French speaking community was rich and powerful. Okay. This was resented by Dutch speaking community who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. अब क्या हुआ? Just let me. So we see that in Brussels, 80% people speak French and 20% Dutch speaking. Now what happened is, if you see, in whole country Belgium, the minority French speaking were rich and powerful. Or the people who were Dutch speaking, who were speaking Dutch, they got the benefit of economic development and education much later. Okay, so Dutch community got the education and economic development benefit very much after the French community has already got. So the French were in minority in Belgium, but they were rich and powerful. Okay, whereas Dutch, who are in majority in Belgium, they got the benefit much later. Okay, so they get rich and powerful much later. So this led to tensions between the Dutch community and French community in 1950s and 1960. So the tension were increasing, and such kind of differences had led to the tensions between the community, Dutch community and French community, specifically in 1950s and 1960s. The tension was more acute in Brussels. Acute means like very severe. ठीक है, बहुत ज़्यादा थी tension Brussels में. Brussels presented a special problem that Dutch-speaking people who form the majority in the country makes the minority in Belgium. This was very contrasting that Brussels presented a problem that Dutch-speaking people who form the majority in whole country makes a minority in Belgium. Basically, in Brussels, okay, यहाँ पर Brussels आएगा, because in Dutch were minority in Brussels and they were in majority in whole of the country. Okay, so this was the problem. Now we are going to talk about Sri Lanka linguistic differences. So we have studied that Dutch were minority in Brussels, whereas they were majority in Belgium. Okay, so this has led to even more tension in Brussels. Okay, because Brussels mein they were in less number. Okay, now let's talk about Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is an island nation. You know that it is a neighbor of India as well. It has about 2 crore people, population as same of Haryana. Sri Lanka has a diverse population. So now we are going to study about 2 major social groups in Sri Lanka, Sinhala and Tamil. So Sinhala make the 74% of the population. Sinhala is a language, okay, and Tamil speaker forms 18%. Okay, got it? Among Tamils, there are 2 groups, and now in Tamil also we have 2 subgroups. The 2 subgroups are Sri Lankan Tamils and the another group are Indian Tamils. For example, Sri Lanka Tamils means their forefathers come from Sri Lanka only. Okay, and Indian Tamils are 87% of these Tamil speakers, and they come and their forefathers are from India. Okay, who came from India as plantation workers during colonial period. So in Sri Lanka, there are 2 type of population. We can say a division of population: Sinhala language speaker and Tamil language speaker. The Sinhala language people make 74% of total population, whereas the Tamil speaker form 18% of total population. Got it? But again, among Tamils, we have a further 2 divisions. One Tamil speaking people, their forefathers are from Sri Lanka and they are 13% of the total Tamil speaker. Whereas the rest, 87%, they are Indian Tamils. Their forefathers had come from India as a plantation workers during colonial period. Okay, got it? Now, Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in north and east of the country. So Sri Lankan Tamils whose fathers are from Sri Lanka itself, they are concentrated mostly in north and east part of the country. Okay. Now, most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most Tamils are Hindu or Muslim. So the people who speak Sinhala, they have a religion, Buddhism, while the Tamils are either Hindus or Muslims. Okay. Now we have about 7% Christians who are both Tamil and Sinhala speaker. So basically, 7% Christians are there. Out of those, some speak Tamil language and a few speak Sinhala language. Okay, so this is the understanding that we have got about the linguistic composition of Sri Lanka. Got it? Okay, next. So now we are talking about majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. Sri Lanka got independent in 1948, and a year after India got its independence. Now, the leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. So Sinhala community, the speakers of Sinhala community, they want to give you a second. So, the leaders of the Sinhala community, they sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. So they wanted that the Sinhala community wanted that they should have a dominance over government because they are in majority. Okay? The democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. So, the government was democratically elected. However, there were a series of measures which only focus on establishing the Sinhala supremacy. Okay, and how were these measures? How we can define that such measures were Sinhala favorable? So let's study. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disregarding Tamil. So in 1956, an act was passed which tell that Sinhala should be the only official language of Sri Lanka, and thus it disregarded that Tamil also existed in the society. The government followed preferential policies that favor Sinhala applicants for university position and government job. So there were preferential policy. Such policies were preferential towards Sinhala applicants, and especially in university position and government job. So they were hiring Sinhala applicants more in higher positions in the university and government jobs also. A new constitution stipulated that states shall protect and foster Buddhism. So there was a new constitution that was, of course, framed after the independence. So it states that the state, which means nation, it shall protect and foster Buddhism. We saw that the Sinhala people, the Sinhala speaking community, followed Buddhism. Okay. All these government measures gradually increased a feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. So the Sri Lankan Tamils, they start to feel kind of alienated. Okay, because their forefathers came from only Sri Lanka itself. Even though they speak Tamil, but their forefathers and their root belong to Sri Lanka. And they started to feel alienated from their country. Okay, alienated means alag, isolated. They felt that none of the major political parties led by Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and culture. They they feel that the political parties which are led by Sinhala leaders, they were not sensitive to their language and culture. Okay. They felt that the constitution and government policy denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interests. They felt that the constitution and government policies were favorable towards Sinhala speaking people, and the Sinhala speaking people were getting jobs and other opportunities. And Sri Lankan Tamils felt that they were denied equal political rights. They even not assured that the political rights should be equal. Okay, and they also felt that the Sinhala leaders have ignored their interests. As a result, the relation between Sinhala and Tamil communities strained over time. So, gradually, the relations between Sinhala and Tamil communities deepened over time. It got increased over time. Okay. So now we are going to study about civil war in Sri Lanka. Okay, because there were already a lot of differences between Sinhala speaking community and Tamil speaking community, and Sri Lankan Tamils felt alienated because the government policies and constitution support or preferred Sinhala speaking people more. They were not even assured equal political rights. There was a case of inequality in the society. Now, how it turned out, how such a gap between Sri Lankan Tamils and Sinhala speaking community had turned out. It turned out in a civil war. Okay, the Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. So Sri Lankan Tamils had started launching parties and they had started launching struggles so that Tamil language can also be recognized as official language for the regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. So they wanted what? They wanted that Tamil should be recognized as an official language. There should be regional autonomy for them. Let's say we studied that Sri Lankan Tamils were mostly based in north and east part of the country. So they wanted that such autonomy, such area should be under Tamil speaking community. Okay. So they wanted that regional autonomy. Autonomy means freedom, authority, and equality of opportunity. They also wanted that there should be equal opportunity for Sri Lankan Tamils as well in education and jobs. Okay. Their demand for more autonomy provinces populated by Tamils are repeatedly denied. So they wanted the areas where Tamils are majorly populated. Okay, the Tamil speaking community are majorly populated. They should be given autonomy to them. Okay, so but the demand was repeatedly denied. By 1980, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Elam state in northern and eastern parts of the Sri Lanka. So they by 1980s many political organizations came up and they started demanding that there should be Tamil state. There should be independent Tamil states, especially in northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. So this defines the regional autonomy, that the state should be independent, and especially there is a majority of Tamil people. Okay, the distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. So बहुत ज़्यादा distrust, there was a distrust, and it turned into widespread conflict. It soon turned into civil war, and very soon that widespread conflict turned into civil war. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities were killed. Thousands of people were killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many lost their livelihoods. Many lost their livelihood, and many leave the country as refugees. The civil war has caused a terrible setback to social, cultural, and economic life of the country and ended in 2009. So, finally, the civil war ended in 2009, but it caused a terrible setback to social, cultural, and economic life of the people of Sri Lanka. Okay, but in Belgium we saw there were differences, right? There were differences between the Dutch speaking people and French speaking population. Even in Belgium, the um, the situation was very complex, complicated. Like we saw that in Brussels the Dutch were in minority, whereas in whole country the Dutch were in majority. So it created um, some sort of complications. Okay, but in Belgium there was no such as civil war, but there was an accommodation, there was a compromise, there was a cooperation. Okay, so Belgian leaders, they took a different path. Okay, they recognized the existence of regional differences and cultural diversity. They already they already realized that there are regional differences and there are cultural diversities in Belgium. Okay, between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times. Between 1970 and 1993, the constitution of Belgium was amended 4 times so that they can work out an arrangement so that everyone can live together in the same country. Okay, arrangement was very innovative, and some of the points of the model are given below here. First, it prescribes that the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. So they already mentioned that in the central government, the Dutch speaking and French people should be equal in number, unlike the government in Sri Lanka. We saw that in Sri Lanka, the majority of the leaders were Sinhala, rather than also they could also share a Tamil uh, they could also share seats with Tamil as well, but they did not do. But in Belgium, we saw that the Dutch and French speaking people were equal. Okay, some special laws required the support of majority of members from each linguistic group. Thus, no single community can make decisions unilaterally. So, there were some special laws which required that from every linguistic group we must have required support. So that, for example, if there is a special law anything regarding a culture, and if French people say yes, but Dutch speaking people say no, so it will not be considered that the majority should come from each linguistic group. Okay, many powers of the central government were given to state government of the two regions of the country. So basically there were two regions, and the state governments um, were also entrusted with the many powers that should have been trusted with central government. So state governments also got many powers from central government. The state governments were not subordinated to the central government, not at all. Brussels has a separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. So Brussels, which is the capital city of Belgium, it had a separate government, and here also both the communities have equal representation. The French speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch speaking community has accepted equal representation in central government. The French speaking people could have said that, oh no, in Brussels we are the majority. But they did not do that. Why? Because at the country level, the French speaking people got the majority even though they were in minority. They got the equality even though they were in minority in the whole country. Okay. Apart from the central and state government, there is a community government. So there was a central government, there was a state government, and third type of government was community government, which is elected by the people belonging to one language community: Dutch, French, German speaking, no matter where they live. So there was a community government, or they were elected by the people belonging to one language community. For example, the Dutch community government will be elected by Dutch people, French community government will be elected by French people, and German community government will be elected by German people, no matter where they live. Okay. The government has the power regarding the cultural, educational, and language related issue. The community government, this community government has the power that they can decide regarding cultural, educational, and language related issues. Belgian model may sound complex, but even for the people living in Belgium, but such arrangements have worked out. They help to avoid critic strife between the two communities and a possible division of country on linguistic basis. So it had helped to avoid critic strife. Strife means disagreement. Okay, hatred between the two communities, and it there was a possibility that the country could be divided on the linguistic basis only, but it did not happen. When countries of the Europe came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen its headquarters. So Brussels um, set a very wonderful example of democracy, and it set a very wonderful example, and so that's why when European Union was formed, Brussels was chosen its headquarter. You can see in the picture here. European Parliament in Brussels, Belgium. Belgium. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Let's move forward. Now we are going to contrast two scenario, Belgium and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, let's say. Sri Lanka shows that if majority community wants to force its dominance over others and refuses to share its power, it can undermine the unity of the country. So if the majority community decides that they want to dominate, they want to have a dominance over the government, then it can undermine the unity of the country. Okay. In Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possibly only by respecting the feelings and interests of different communities and regions. It resulted in mutually accepted arrangements for sharing power. So Belgium set a very wonderful example of how the power can be shared between different groups, no matter if they are linguistic groups or social groups or religious groups or any other groups. Okay, so we can see here, let us study more like communities and regions of Belgium. Let us look at this map. So you can see at the orange there is Brussels capital region here. This is Brussels. Okay, this part, red part, Walloon. Walloon is a French speaking region. Flemish is a Dutch speaking region, yellow, and German speaking region, which forms 7%. This is okay. So regional wise there were linguistic and regional differences, right? They go hand in hand like that. So in Sri Lanka, if we see Sinhalese community, this yellow one, so this is Sinhalese community. Okay, they reside here. Then comes the Sri Lankan Tamil here, northern eastern part of the country. Then Indian Tamil, they came here, okay, here, and Muslims. So Muslims ये जो छोटे छोटे areas हैं, okay. So this is the ethnic map of both the countries. So now we saw that how wonderfully the Belgium has worked out an arrangement uh, that um, that gave like fair treatment to all its community, and how Sri Lanka turned out to be. So we studied both the example. So we saw that in Belgium, power sharing was done between central and state government, community government, between the two linguistic regions, and even between the regional sections also, Flemish region and Walloon region. But in Sri Lanka, majority has decided that we are not going to share the power with the minority, right? So it led to civil war. The lives were affected. Many had to leave the country as refugees. So it did not turn out well, neither politically, neither socially, neither culturally or economically. So therefore, power sharing is very important. Okay, the cooperation, the accommodation should be very important if you want to keep anything united, be it a country or be it anything, be it an organization or a family. So power sharing is very desirable. So in the next video, we are going to study about why power sharing is desirable. In the meantime, please revise the notes. The notes have been made from NCERT only. No additional information has been added or no important information has been deleted. So you can refer to these notes very quickly at the time of revision and they will stay organized. So in that way, you can easily recall in the examination. In the meantime, thank you. Bye.